check this out. Watch this.
LGBTQ plus community puts so much pressure on, sex and just like labels and positions when it comes to, being gay and being top, verse, bottom, feminine, masculine. Like it's already a lot. So being a side just makes it even more complicated for me because I'm just like that. Like what? Like what? Like I've even been told that I can't be gay because I don't like penetration, or how do I know that I don't like penetration if I haven't tried it?
Okay, so Teddy, my guest today, is in the side life. He's on the side of the
Line.
culture.
Yeah, I'm a
Side. He's. I don't even know how to describe it, but we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna be joined again by Luffy a little later. But Teddy,
yeah.
help me understand side because I don't get it. Because
Okay.
our culture really is very penetration centered. You are
It
a
is.
top. There was a long time where you were a girl or a boy, and then you were a top, a bottom, or a verse, and then the girls became verse tops and verse bottoms, and then it became oral top and a dom bottom and all the things, right?
Yeah.
So we're very, very penetration centered. How did you figure out that you are not penetrate? You're not a penetrative partner.
Um, so this is newer, and I also want to preface this with, and I'm not a complete and utter like full side per se.
There's a
I
such thing as a full side.
like, yeah, like someone who is like doesn't do penetration like in any sense whatsoever. I probably like within the last 2 years have done more exploratory when it comes to what it means to be a side, even like the term, like it's not the most commonly used. But there was a point in time where I just completely stopped full on penetration for like a year and a half. And
Were
in
you abstinent for that
no,
year and a half, or were
like
you
3 months, I
like
mean,
you was hooking up still, but you just didn't had no dick and no ass?
yeah. And so in that sense, I met a this guy. We like were having good conversation, and then he basically said that he was a side. And so then he went into, and I'm like, well, what's the side? Like I didn't know what it was. And it wasn't until I moved here, I live in Providence. And so then after we had like this whole hour long conversation, I was just like so intrigued. Like, are you really getting off and enjoying yourself without all those aspects? And so we explored and I enjoyed it.
Okay, so are you really getting off and enjoying yourself without the Bucci cat and the eggplants?
Yeah, because there's still so much more to do than to penetrate. I think in penetrative sex, and I want to be clear. I like to coin myself as something very unique. I am a verse slash side, but my preference is side, but I will verse when I want to, which is rare these days.
Okay.
Rare. However, I think in the realms of being a verse, a top, a bottom, what we are doing is just you're doing some foreplay, but the goal is to get the hole. Something's going in the hole.
Yes.
That's the goal.
Yes. You got to put the sausage somewhere.
Yeah, but I think for me, like what that comes with sometimes is like people want to do a quickie, or it's just like a quick hookup, and you're not actually taking the time to explore and get to know each other's body. I think like with the side action, it really does put emphasis and focus on exploring what your
Okay.
sexuality means, finding interest in what kinks are. If you think of the kink world, right? Like there are people who do kinks all the time, and some of their kinks never have anything to do with being penetrated, but they're getting off. They're getting whipped, they're getting tied up, they're getting tickled, they're getting licked in
But
different.
all of that, but Teddy, all of that sounds like a lot of work. It sounds like a lot of work. And sometimes you don't ever get that itch in the middle of the night where you just want to bust a nut though.
Yeah, you jack off.
So you're saying that you're all because it sounds like you're giving up hookups because you have this more intimate, more involved expression of your sexuality.
Not true, because I still and will continue until I'm tied down. Hookup. But in those hookups, I'm very specific about what it is that I'm looking for. And so
And
for
what would
me,
something like that be? Like you just want to
I'm,
get your dick sucked, or you just want to get nipple? Like what? Like is that like
it
a
depends.
smoking
It
stroke or
depends.
something?
It depends on who the person is that you are connecting with. Hopefully, it can be a repeated person and you built that rapport. So for me, a hookup is not always going to be something penetrative. I've done bait bro, like where we literally sat next to each other. We ain't touching each other, but it's like this intense, deep stare in the eyes, and we are literally going off and then climaxing at the same time. I have done full oral fixation where my tongue has went from the tip of the head to the soles of the feet to the back of the ass to the front. And my whole focus is to provide a tantric sort of experience for the person who is there. There's some people who don't want nothing but they dick suck. Like literally.
I mean, I am one of those people at times. It's just all of that. Again, it doesn't sound like that gives way for a quickie.
It can give way for a quickie because if you know what you're doing with your mouth, you can make it go.
And you can begin and end a sexual situation, an entanglement.
Without any penetration? Yes.
This is so, I am, I don't even know I'm normally good for a question. Very rarely am I tongue tied, but I just don't understand. I genuinely do not understand this one because
go ahead.
I think it's because anal is the easiest way to get to the destination. It's like there's a straight line from me being horny to destination.
Fair. So to be clear, I also started in a game thinking that you just did each other. Then I learned because, pretending to be DL, but not really knowing nothing. And then when I got into the world, I was assumed to be a top. And so for like my first 2 years experience, that's what I did because that's what I was told I should be.
Okay.
And then I met a partner and like 6 months in, I'm like, I also want to, I want it. Now I'm 37 now, right? And so like over time and over life, there has been a plethora of various experiences. And I was literally talking to one of my friends about this. One of my most, and I'm not talking like with a partner that I've been with for a while. Like this was a repeated connection that has happened. And this person is strictly aside. And like we have it. And so this is the person, like, I'm like, I want to be tossed around. He's like, I want to be tossed around. So I'm like, let's toss each other. Within that time, there was tossing. And I know you're thinking like, how are you tossing each other? Well, it depends on what people like, right? There's a little bit of choking, biting.
Okay. Before you get there, they're talking to me in the chat. So I got so many questions and I definitely want to get Luffy in on this. Okay, teammates. Later in the show, Luffy and Teddy are going to be answering your burning questions for the comments. During the break, I want you to drop a comment and let me know if somebody says he's a side, what's the next question you would want to know that comes up on a date? What would be your follow-up? Let me know in the comments. This conversation has helped you understand what a side is. Don't be a selfish bitch. Go on and hit the share button on YouTube. Tag a friend on Insta. This is No Penetration Explained. We'll be right back.